You remain in Kyiv. Can you give us a sense of the situation in your city right now?
Evan, I am in Kyiv, which remains the free capital of this unbroken nation. And right now I'm in this underground shelter. The Russians choose the night hours for most of their airstrikes, which means that every hour or two you can hear airstrike siren and we have to go to shelters. So this means another sleepless night for many Ukrainians across the country. And this place in particular is interesting because behind my back there is a place from where one of the Ukrainian state-run TV channels broadcasts during airstrike hours.
Give us a sense of the situation. Kyiv is the prize, you know, for the Russians. How soon do you think they will be escalating the attacks on Ukraine? There's this sense of this large convoy heading your way, sir.
Well, I think it was a constant escalation without much rest for. It has been that escalation without much rest for the last 7 days, Kyiv right now is a fortress. As you know, our armed forces have given a very impressive fight to the Russian invaders. They feel very confident on land. Many civilians have taken arms and joined the armed forces and the forces of territorial defense. So that explains why every Ukrainian city and village has become a fortress, and every street becomes a battlefield and hell for the Russians who choose to come here. So what I can see around, Evan, it's extraordinary courage, a lot of self-sacrifice. There is a lot of anger and fury, of course. There is a lot of tragedy, but also there is a lot of optimism and a lot of enthusiasm.
First of all, the courage is extraordinary, Mr. Shevchenko. It is extraordinary, and the world is watching the Ukrainian courage under this onslaught. And I will say it is remarkable, from President Zelensky right down to, as you say, the average Ukrainian who are picking up arms. What does Ukraine need right now in terms of help immediately? What is the urgent request?
We ask three things: weapons, money, and sanctions. We need money to save the Ukrainian economy. We do need sanctions to destroy the Russian economy. And we badly need weapons just to physically survive. That's what we need right now to protect our land, to protect our armed forces, and also to protect civilians. So that's why every weapon which enters our country right now is priceless. That's why it's so important. And one more thing,
okay.
Go ahead, Evan.
No, you go. Go ahead. What else?
And as I mentioned, we do feel quite confident on land, on the ground. Part of that is maybe because of this extraordinary training that we received from the Canadian trainers under Operation Unifier. So all of that helped more than 30,000 of Ukrainian servicemen and servicewomen to protect their lives. But also we can see that the Russian capabilities in the skies, that is something which really kills us. And the Russians have changed their tactics. And they have started deliberately targeting civilian objects. So that's what is the most dangerous part of the situation.
Okay, that's exactly where I was headed, because you know there have been calls for a no-fly zone right here in Canada. The former chief of the defense staff, retired Major General Hillier, on this program last night said NATO must have a no-fly zone. The Ukrainians and they have asked for a no-fly zone. NATO has said no, we are not going to do a no-fly zone. That would escalate this war with the Russians. Is there still a need? Would you still call for a NATO-enforced no-fly zone over your country?
Yes, and I'll explain why. War is obviously a terrible thing, but there are international laws that actually set up rules of engagement. The Russians don't care about that at all. They use cluster bombs to attack apartment blocks in Kharkiv, just like you showed on your program. They use Ukrainian flags to mask their tanks. They deliberately target civilian infrastructure. They captured Chernobyl nuclear plant. In Kyiv, they hijacked ambulance vehicles to sneak into downtown. Their losses, as of the moment, are close to 6,000, both lethal and non-lethal, but we cannot even convince the Russians to take back the bodies of their soldiers. So I'm just giving all those examples to explain that they do behave like barbarians with no dignity. It's pure evil, which right now is a direct threat to Ukrainian civilians. And if we saw no-fly zone imposed in Libya or in Syria, I see no reasons why we cannot enforce that in Ukraine. We should consider that option, and that would help us to protect civilian lives.
Sir, just last question as that debate continues. Is your family safe? Are those around you? What is happening there? I think a lot of people on a personal note want to know, what happens with you during the day? What are you going to do? What is your family doing? Are they going to try to leave or are they going to fight?
Well, I'm a reserve officer, so I expect a direct order to join the combat any moment or any hour. My wife is a news presenter, just like you, Evan. So just 20 minutes ago, she was on air broadcasting news from here, from downtown Kyiv. And we know that this is the time when each of us has to do his or her own share, and it's a contribution into this battle that we have. And I'm absolutely sure that we'll get through this. And we do need your help. We're not alone, but we feel lonely. But we know how this is going to end. We shall overcome.
Okay, former Ukrainian ambassador to Canada, Andriy Shevchenko. Sir, extraordinary that you're broadcasting now and talking to us from Kyiv. Stay safe. I know we'll speak again. Thank you so much for your words and your extraordinary courage in the face of this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Evan.